Well, hi, everybody. I'm Marcy Markusa. And on this edition of This is Manitoba in the podcast, we're going to take you to some places and spaces and meet some people who are a little bit spooky. Our question today is, hey, Manitoba, are you scared yet? Today on the podcast, books flying off the shelves and handprints appearing on the walls. We will hear about a historical museum that's being investigated for paranormal activity. Plus, we're going to hear how a Winnipegger landed a role in a suspenseful teen thriller on Netflix. But first, let's start with that museum. It's a place that's actually being visited by the Winnipeg Paranormal Group. They take the public. You sign up and you go with them and you take tours of different places where they do investigations and you learn all about how that works. And they invite skeptics and believers alike. And they have been looking into the Historical Museum of St. James-Assiniboia. It's in the heart of Winnipeg on Portage Avenue. Now, the museum features 2 historic buildings on the land from the early days of the settlers in the area. And there's a rich history of reported paranormal activity that goes back decades. Staff and visitors all report unexplained experiences. Bonita Eastwood is the executive director and the curator of the Historical Museum. Here's what she had to say of some of the things that she's seen.
I can tell you many stories that have happened. You're going to hear noises. You're going to hear the bell ringing. There's movement upstairs. If I pick up the phone, sometimes it's complete static. Staff would call me and say, the books are all over the floor upstairs. There's no reason for the books to come out of the shelf upstairs. My experience in the Brown House is very different. I know that staff has come running to me because we have trunks. This is in the middle of the day and the trunk lids are going up and down, up and down. It's when I pick up the phone to make a phone call, it's absolute static. When I hear the whistling, when the doorbell rings, when the door opens. So there's that kind of, when I see shadows, those are particularly something that did make me very nervous in the beginning, but I became very accustomed to. There was one incident in particular that we had a group that were performing for us and practicing, and they were there. It was about 11:15 at night, and I got a phone call, and I know the person very well. Said, "What is going on?" I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "We're sitting there after the practice set, and all of a sudden the chair in front of us just went and flipped up, turned right upside down, and came right back down." They said they got out of there pretty quick.
I don't know about you, but I've already got goosebumps, but why don't we lean into getting more? Because next on the podcast, we're going to hear from Ashley Barnes. As I mentioned, the Winnipeg Paranormal Group has been taking the public along to different spaces to learn what they do, but also to investigate what's going on in these places. And I had a conversation with her specifically about this museum. Hi there.
Hi.
So what a fascinating, set of experiences that people are reporting and talking about. What's the history behind this museum?
Well, paranormal wise, the history, it goes way back. One of the houses is still a log house, and it was originally in the Headingley area for William Brown. And that's where we get a lot of the activity. The other location would be the administration building, which was for the town of St. James. And there's actually a jail cell still down in the basement. So we get some activity in there as well.
When you do these tours, do you talk about the history, or how do you handle walking people through?
So we always make sure that we have somebody from the museum with us who's able to answer the history questions, because, as much as we love the location, we're not experts on the history of it, right? So we handle the paranormal side of it. We handle teaching people how to use the equipment, walking them through, doing a basic investigation of the space. But, either Barry or Justin or Bonita sometimes is there to help with the actual historical questions for that.
Has your team captured anything there? And if so, what has your team captured?
We have, yes. I think the best piece of evidence that we have caught actually came from one of the attendees. She was recording in the Brown House, and And this was after we had kind of finished off for the evening. She asked if she could just kind of go back in and say her goodbyes and kind of finish up. And so she was recording in there, and you can hear a little girl say hello.
Yeah. Everyone can imagine that, right? That little voice.
Yeah.
Where does your passion from the paranormal come from? This is interesting because I mentioned you were at one point a client, and I understand you were a skeptic. So you look at this from a number of different lenses, and people will take with it what they will. But where does your passion come from?
You know what? The fact that we have so many clients who just come back and say, thank you so much. I was able to sleep tonight. I think that's where the passion comes, being able to really, truly help people who are scared.
What scared you when you were a client? How were you? I'm just going to interject here. What was your story when you were a client? What was going on?
So it started out really simple. We had moved into the house. We were renting it. My son was about 2.5 at the time. And, we originally, you hear noises when you get into a new place, right? So you just chalk it up to that. But then my son started telling us that the dark man would come out of his closet. So then we started paying a little bit more closer attention to what was going on. And we realized, the noises we were hearing were coming from our house, above our heads. So, it sounded like there was a dance party happening over our heads, or, a handprint showing up on the wall one night. We had toys that started playing by themselves. And then what really kind of got me is, I was laying in bed one night, and there was something that sat down on the bed beside me that was heavy enough to make me roll to the middle of the bed. And when I rolled, there was nothing there.
Yeah, I might call someone too. There's going to be people, of course, listening that say there's logical reasons for all of this, right? And so
Absolutely.
I know that you started as a skeptic. You actually encourage skeptics and believers in the group. Why is it important to have that balance when you go out and do these things with your group, the investigations?
Exactly like you said, it keeps us balanced. It makes sure that we don't just jump to a paranormal reason, right? We want to make sure that when we're going into clients' homes, that we are really, truly finding the reasons. So we want to make sure that, okay, you're hearing noises in the wall. Well, let's make sure that that's not your pipes, right? Let's turn on your water and make sure that you're not just hearing the rattling in the pipes. Mm-hmm. Because not everything is paranormal. There is logical reasons for things. So, having skeptics and believers, it really just makes an even team.
That was Ashley Barnes, who's the lead investigator of the Winnipeg Paranormal Group. And if you dare, you can Google them and maybe you'll check out some of these haunted spaces across Manitoba. Well, I'm Marcy Markusa, and this is Manitoba. If you're just joining the podcast for the first time, welcome. And if you heard about us on Front Burner, special welcome to you. Well, not all of our stories out of this province are scary, but the next one actually also has a thread that's a bit of a thriller. It's actually a good news story about a Winnipegger who's landed a role in a teen drama on Netflix, but the show itself is suspenseful. It is being called a thriller, a revenge drama. It's inspired by a manga, which is a style of a comic or graphic novel from Japan. And it takes you inside the fictional world of St. Dominic's. That's a school at the center of this Netflix thriller, and the show's called Bet. The manga-inspired live action follows a group of students, and they navigate life at this elite high school. Now, one student's quest is to avenge her murdered parents. But a Winnipegger is at the center of the story. Congrats on this role.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me here.
How super exciting it must be.
Oh my goodness. You tell me. It's crazy. It's crazy. I'm just, I'm thankful to be a part of it as a proud Winnipegger,
It's shot in Toronto, right?
Shot in Toronto.
Yeah. And who's Ryan? Tell us a little bit of how's your character. How do you describe your character?
Yeah. So Ryan is based on a character in the manga, Ryota. So he is a kid at this crazy high stakes school who's helping Yumiko, the new girl, navigate the whole school. So he's kind of like her, her best friend in that, and he wants the best for her. I say he's probably the most sane person in this school, and the story just uncovers that in a very crazy way.
How does Ryan, the character, resonate with you?
Oh my goodness, seeing his description on the audition, even, I was like, wow, this character, it definitely displayed a part of my life that I grew up with, where he was in a shell for a long time until things happened that started to allow him to have the opportunity to gain self-confidence, and you really see him evolve throughout the season. And I felt like, as a person, I've come out of my own shell, with and evolving with my own self-confidence. So it was really cool, playing that similar dynamic.
The show, as we've been saying, is inspired by manga. So that's a style of comic or graphic novel from Japan.
Correct, yeah.
And now you're in a TV show about it. How did that influence the way you approach the role? Like, do you think about that when you're thinking about the work?
I mean, yeah, definitely. It's really important to know that Bet is its own universe. It's of course, it's based and inspired by the original source material, Kakegurui, but we really do take our own liberties and do our own thing. However, we do, pay homage to the original, the manga, and so there are definitely different traits and attributes that I take from Ryota, that I apply to Ryan, and it's really cool, combining both and creating an original character.
I was looking this morning, up to sort of read more about Bet and the nature of it, because it's been described in different ways. And I actually Googled Bet, is it scary? And it came up, it was not scary, it said, Google, for what it's worth. You can tell me if this is true. Okay. But it said suspenseful, disturbing, power dynamics in school, psychological, and revenge. So maybe dark. How fun is it to play, a character in this universe?
It is so fun, because deep on the revenge, that this whole story is a revenge story, and that's uncovered. And what's really cool is that every single character at this school has something that they're hiding or something that they're dealing with. Even Ryan, who may seem like a normal person on the forefront, but he has his own secrets. And we didn't dive in to it too much this season, but there's definitely lots to unpack.
Let's talk about you. I know you spent most of your childhood living in the UK, but you moved to Winnipeg when you were a teen.
Yeah.
How did moving here shape your love of film?
Oh my goodness, seeing how many films being shot here in Winnipeg is just it's remarkable, really. I mean, that's how I can say I got started in it. I had friends who were in movies, and I was always intrigued, because I was on the theater side of things for a long time, just because I just loved performing like that. But seeing what could be done in Winnipeg, and the opportunities there were, I was like, wow, this is really cool. Maybe I can dive into this.
What was your family's reaction when you told them that you were going to do this? You're going to pursue acting?
I'm really grateful for them, and I definitely would not be here without them, and or where I am even, because they were very supportive, and and it's, of course, they're immigrant parents as well, so there is this stigma around a child being successful in the STEM field, but they were really supportive, and they were just telling me, if this is what you want to do, go all in, and make sure that you give it your all. And that's what I stuck with.
I mentioned this is in Toronto. I shot in Toronto predominantly. And,
Right.
and the cast is actually a lot of Canadians in this cast. Yeah. What's it like for you to be a young Canadian actor, but also to experience this with other young Canadian actors?
Yeah, it is amazing, because, this cast is all Canadian, actually. And it's we're really showing the world that we have talent in Canada, and we can also, play amongst the Americans, play amongst, everyone else in the world, Hollywood, and we're really pushing the grain of what we're capable of. And I love that Bet is, a good demonstration of that. Yeah.
We've been talking about the manga kakiguri, the compulsive gambler is the translation for that. Did you follow that series before you auditioned, or did you have to sort of brush up on all of it and then go to the audition so you would be in the right mindset for the character?
Yeah. What was really interesting was the audition. They completely changed all the names for all the characters, and they tried to, hide it in a certain way that we wouldn't know what it is. And so of course there were some people on set who have seen the manga or who've read the manga and watched the anime, so they knew exactly what it was because it was still the same story. But me going into it, I did not know what it was. I didn't know that it was based on kakigurui. But so I went on. I did the audition based on the everything that I was given. But of course, when I got the role, then I really did my homework and read the manga and watched all 2 seasons of the anime, just for reference and context.
What's the response been like so far to this?
It's been really good. It's been it's crazy seeing how many people are really resonating with the show, and it's really big right now in Asia, Southeast Asia as well. The Philippines, it was #1 for 3 weeks straight on Netflix, and worldwide, I believe a few days ago, it was #5 worldwide on Netflix. So yeah, the response has been really, really good, and very, very grateful for that.
That's so cool. What would your message be if someone's listening to you right now and they're, a young Winnipegger and they might be interested in pursuing a career in film or acting?
I definitely say that nothing's impossible, and everything starts from home. You have to, no one's going to believe in yourself and no one's going to believe in you as much as yourself, and really, really trust in yourself, really be a student of life, always be learning, always be, trying to gather as much information as possible so you can push the grain as well and achieve.
Congratulations on this. Can't wait to see where it takes you. Nice to meet you. Thanks for being here.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
That is Winnipeg actor Ayo Solanke, who plays Ryan on the Netflix series Bet. Well, hopefully we didn't scare you and we left you smiling, and I hope we did, because Ayo's story is so cool, right, to be part of this. But wherever you join us from today on This is Manitoba, thank you for being here, and come back again, won't you, sometime? Don't forget to find us and follow us wherever you get and share your podcasts.